About a year after I came back from Iraq, during my time in the US Army, I said something really off the wall to one of my sergeants, and that alerted him. And he highly encouraged me to go see a doctor for my mental health because he thought that I was behaving really differently from my usual self. And after I thought about what I said to him in formation in front of everyone, I was like, yeah, something is really off. So I went to see a doctor at a off-post behavioral health center. So I go to this behavioral health clinic and I talk to a shrink and I tell him everything that's going on with me. And he tells me that I'm showing all of the classic symptoms of PTSD. So he asks me, how long have you been feeling this way? I tell him ever since I came back from Iraq. He asked me, when did you come back from Iraq? I said, over a year ago. And he was like, what? Didn't they do a behavioral health assessment after you came back from the war? I said, yes, they did. And then he asked me, well, did you tell them everything that you told me? I said, yes, I did. Then he asked, then what did they say? And I tell them, they said that, well, I'm just getting older. And he was astounded. And he said that they were super negligent because I was literally showing all of the classic symptoms of PTSD. So at the end of my session, he tells me that he wants to prescribe me some medicine. And I'm like, medicine for what? And he says, for depression. So I tell the doc, I don't think I'm depressed. And he says, well, you're showing signs that you are. So then I tell him, well, I'm showing signs that I'm unhappy and I feel like I know the reasons why I'm unhappy, but I don't think that I'm depressed. And he tells me, well, he really wants me to give this a try because, he's the doctor. And so I tell the doctor one last time, doc, I really don't think I am depressed. I think I know what the problem is. And I think I know what the solution is too. It's just the inefficiencies of the army. And once I'm out, I think I will be fine. But he insists that he wants me to take this medicine to try it out. So I say, hey, you're the doctor. You know what you're talking about. So fine, I'll listen to you. So I go home and I take this medicine and I go to sleep. And I remember waking up a few times itching, like scratching my legs or something like that. It was kind of weird. But in the morning, normally I would have called behavioral health and let them know about this kind of negative side effect, but I wasn't in my right state of mind. I was like zombied out and I went straight to work and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was alive. And one of the chiefs came up to me and he's like, hey, Rim, do you want to go to some advanced like technology training for one of the missile systems? And I'm like, no. I look straight at him, not even no, sir, just in a really disrespectful way. And he looks at me weird and he's just like, okay, Rim. And he walks away. And he didn't even reprimand me because I think that he has a lot of trust in me and he knows that I wouldn't act this way. So he probably gave me the benefit of the doubt and he knew that I was going to work out whatever this was. So he gave me my space and I didn't work at all. I was just like doing nothing. And I was wondering why I'm alive. Like, what's the purpose of living? And for the first time, I realized I was having suicidal thoughts. I'm like, wow. And I'm like, what am I doing here anyway? And it was about 11:30 a.m. And I looked around and I'm just like, yo, I'm going home. Peace out. Like literally to all the officers and sergeants there, I just got up and left and no one said anything. The whole place became dead silent and they all watched me walk out. They didn't tell me to stop. They didn't call me. They just trusted me that I needed to just work this out. And as soon as I got home, I realized that like I'm acting super crazy and I just didn't want to be alive. So I called behavioral health and I let them know that I'm having all these thoughts and also about the itch. And they said that I'm having a negative reaction and they said to stop taking the meds immediately. I'm like, no crap. Like, why would I keep wanting to take that? I'm going to end up dead if I keep taking more of whatever the hell that was. Now, keep in mind that I'm a really positive thinking person by nature, and all the trials and hardships that I've been through have strengthened my resolve and resilience. So, if a person like me that really prides himself in being professional can act the way I did in the environment that I was in, then what would it do to like a teenager? And then I remember hearing stories about parents taking their kids to see a shrink, getting prescribed antidepressants and kids killing themselves. And I'm just like, wait, maybe some of these kids weren't depressed and they were prescribed antidepressants and it made a chemical imbalance in their brain and they just couldn't cope with what they were going through and they felt what I felt and they're just like, screw it. So the moral of the story is if your friends or family or kids are unhappy and you're taking them to see a doctor, don't be so quick to say okay for prescribed medicine. Keep in mind, there are doctors out there that don't really care and they just want to make a quick buck and they will write you whatever they need to write you because they're going to make money off of those pills, off of your insurance. So just be careful and try to listen to whoever it is that is. If they're telling you that they're not depressed and they're very insistent, just listen to them, you know?